Welcome to the Daily Gospel Breakdown. Today we're going through Mark chapter 15, one of the most significant and emotionally intense chapters in the entire Bible. This is the chapter where Jesus is condemned, mocked, crucified, and buried. We'll look at the historical meaning of the chapter, the deeper themes it presents, what it reveals about Jesus, and why these events became central to Christianity itself. Let's get into it. Mark chapter 15 begins early in the morning as Jesus is brought before Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor of Judea. The religious leaders had already condemned Jesus during the night, but under Roman rule, they lacked the authority to carry out an execution themselves. So they bring him to Pilate, hoping Rome will sentence him to death. Pilate asks Jesus directly whether he is the king of the Jews. Jesus responds carefully and briefly, while the religious leaders continue accusing him. Mark emphasizes how unusually silent Jesus remains during these accusations, astonishing Pilate. Many Christians see parallels here with Isaiah 53, where the suffering servant is described as remaining silent before his oppressors. Mark appears to intentionally present Jesus as willingly enduring humiliation and suffering, rather than resisting through force. The chapter then introduces Barabbas, a prisoner involved in rebellion and murder. During the Passover festival, Pilate customarily released one prisoner chosen by the crowd. Pilate appears to believe the crowd may ask for Jesus' release, recognizing that the religious leaders acted largely out of envy. Instead, the crowd demands Barabbas be freed and calls for Jesus to be crucified. This moment is filled with irony and symbolism. A guilty man goes free while the innocent Jesus is condemned. Throughout Christian history, many believers have viewed Barabbas as symbolically representing humanity itself, guilty people receiving freedom while Jesus takes their place. Pilate ultimately gives in to the crowd despite apparently believing Jesus is innocent. This scene reveals themes that continue throughout the chapter: political pressure, public manipulation, fear of unrest, and the failure of human justice. Jesus is then brutally beaten and mocked by Roman soldiers. They place a purple robe on him, press a crown of thorns onto his head, and sarcastically hail him as King of the Jews. The mockery carries deep irony because, from Mark's perspective, Jesus actually is the true king, but his kingdom does not operate through military conquest or worldly power. Mark repeatedly presents Jesus redefining kingship through sacrifice, humility, and suffering. Jesus is then led to Golgotha, meaning place of the skull, where he is crucified. Crucifixion was one of the most brutal forms of execution in the ancient world, designed not only to kill, but to publicly humiliate and terrorize. Victims were often stripped, beaten, mocked, and left exposed before crowds. Mark's account is surprisingly restrained compared to how horrific crucifixion actually was historically. Instead of dwelling on graphic physical details, Mark focuses heavily on the meaning and spiritual significance of the event. As Jesus hangs on the cross, people continue mocking him. Religious leaders challenge him to save himself if he truly is the Messiah. Even the crucified criminals beside him insult him at first, according to Mark's account. One of the darkest moments in the chapter occurs when darkness covers the land in the middle of the day. Darkness throughout Scripture often symbolizes judgment, mourning, chaos, or profound spiritual significance. Then Jesus cries out, my God, why have you forsaken me?" This line comes directly from Psalm 22, a psalm describing suffering, humiliation, mockery, and eventual vindication. Many Christians believe Jesus was intentionally invoking the psalm as he suffered on the cross. This moment has been discussed deeply throughout Christian history because it captures the emotional and spiritual weight of the crucifixion. Mark portrays Jesus fully entering into human suffering, abandonment, pain, and death. Soon afterward, Jesus breathes his last. Then something remarkable happens. The curtain of the temple is torn in two from top to bottom. The temple veil separated the Holy of Holies, the symbolic dwelling place of God's presence, from the people. Many Christians understand the tearing of the veil as symbolizing direct access to God becoming opened through Jesus' death. Immediately after this, a Roman centurion watching the crucifixion declares, "Surely this man was the Son of God." This statement is enormously significant in Mark's Gospel. Throughout the book, people repeatedly struggle to fully understand who Jesus is. Yet here, at the moment of crucifixion, a Gentile Roman soldier becomes one of the clearest human voices recognizing Jesus' identity. Mark seems to intentionally emphasize a reversal. Those expected to recognize Jesus often reject him, while outsiders unexpectedly perceive the truth. The chapter then slows dramatically as Jesus' burial begins. Joseph of Arimathea, a respected member of the council, courageously asks Pilate for Jesus' body. After confirming Jesus' death, Pilate allows Joseph to bury him. Jesus is wrapped in linen and placed inside a rock-cut tomb, while women followers observe where the body is laid. This ending is important because it prepares directly for the resurrection narrative in Mark 16. The burial also reinforces that Jesus truly died physically, something central to early Christian proclamation. Mark 15 ultimately presents the crucifixion not merely as a tragic execution, but as the climax of Mark's entire gospel story. Themes that have been building throughout the book: suffering, sacrifice, misunderstanding, kingship, faithfulness, rejection, and redemption, all converge here. Jesus is mocked as king while actually revealing what true kingship looks like. He appears weak while demonstrating radical obedience and love. He is rejected by crowds, condemned unjustly, abandoned by followers, and executed by Rome. Yet Mark presents these very events as part of God's larger redemptive purpose. For Christians throughout history, Mark 15 stands at the center of the gospel message itself, that through suffering, sacrifice, and the cross, God was working reconciliation and redemption for humanity. Thanks for joining me for today's Daily Gospel Breakdown. If this study helped you better understand Mark chapter 15, consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. And let me know your thoughts or interpretations in the comments below. See you in the next breakdown.